Peace be upon you, dear my students, dear my sons and daughters, third year secondary students. How are you? I hope you are keeping well, and I hope also that you are studying well. Today, we will start studying The Prisoner of Zenda, and we will discuss some hot questions. And I mean by hot questions, higher order thinking questions. أسئلة بتتطلب مستويات عليا من التفكير. Let's start, my dear students. Hot questions again means higher order thinking questions. First of all, at the beginning of the story, we get the impression that Rassendil was arrogant and uncaring. Illustrate. Arrogant. Arrogant means right. متكبر. متعالي. Uncaring. Excellent. غير مهتم. You remember Rodolph Rassendil, the hero of the story? From the very beginning of the story, we know that Rodolph Rassendil is proud of his family because the family had a good position in society and they had money, a lot of money in fact. Rodolph Rassendil said that we had a lot of money to do whatever I want. So, from the very beginning of the story, we know that we had an impression that Rassendil was arrogant and uncaring. Listen. He boasted that he had enough money to do anything. He took pride in his position in society. He offended Rose and he boasted about his family and he was dependent. Boasted. تباهى. تفاخر. That he had enough money to do anything. He took pride in his position in society and he offended Rose. أهانها. You remember? When he reminded her about her family that had a good money. The family had good money, much money, but in fact they didn't have a good position in society. He boasted about his family that had a good position and he was dependent. Dependent لم يكن مستقلا، كان اعتماديا، كان عالة على أسرته because he didn't have a job. He is jobless. He doesn't work in fact. Next, Rassendil was multilingual. Illustrate. Multilingual? What does it mean, do you think? Multilingual. Right. Multilingual means speaks a lot of languages. Excellent. متعدد اللغات. How many languages do you think Rodolph Rassendil speaks? Rodolph Rassendil speaks 5 languages. Excellent. Well done. Let's see. He spoke 5 languages. What are they? English, German, Spanish, French, and right, Italian. Thank you. How can you justify Sir Jacob Borrowdale's choice to Rodolph Rassendil to work for him? Justify. يبرر. يعلل. Sir Jacob Borrowdale. Do you remember him? The man who would be an ambassador in 6 months' time, and he chose Rodolph Rassendil to work for him. How can you justify Sir Jacob Borrowdale's choice to Rassendil to work for him? Means, why did Sir Jacob Borrowdale choose Rassendil to work for him? This is the meaning of the word justify. Let's think. Right. Rodolph Rassendil was from a good family, and his brother was Lord Burlesdon. You remember his brother, Robert Rassendil, was Lord Burlesdon, and he was well educated. Of course, Rassendil was well educated. He studied at German schools and German universities, and he spoke 5 languages, as we said before. Right. Number 3. Rose was both caring and persuasive. How? You remember Rose? Rassendil's sister-in-law. Yes, she's Robert's wife. Excellent. She was both caring and persuasive. Okay, we know that she was persuasive because she had a way of asking people to do things which is impossible to refuse. And she persuaded Rodolph Rossendel to accept the job. But how was she caring? Of course, she was caring because she asked Rodolph Rossendel himself to have this job with Sir Jacob Brodage. Let's see the answer. She had a way of asking people to do things which is impossible to refuse. And this sentence is very important. And she cared about her family and managed to persuade Rossendel to accept the job. Excellent. Number 5. Rossendel lied to Rose twice. Lied? Of course. Rossendel lied to her twice. كذب عليها. Discuss. What did he lie to her? First of all, excellent. He told her that he was going to the Alps, whereas he intended to go to Ruritania to attend the coronation. He didn't go to the Alps, in fact. And he said that he would write a book about social problems there in the Alps, but in fact, he didn't write a book about social problems. In fact, he wrote a book about his adventures in Ruritania. Well done. Number 6. Rossendel's description of Antoinette de Maubin was different from Bertrand's. Discuss. You remember Antoinette, the woman who came from Paris to attend the coronation. And you remember Bertrand. Bertrand is the English journalist who works in Paris. Both Rossendel and Bertrand have some description about Antoinette de Maubin, but they were different. Rossendel and Bertrand were different in describing Antoinette. Rossendel described her appearance, while Bertrand described her personality. Excellent, well done. What did Rodolphe say about Antoinette's appearance? Rossendel said that she was beautiful, tall, and fashionably dressed, woman of about 30, while Bertrand said that she was known for her wealth and ambition, and we could see the difference between the appearance and the character here. Rossendel concentrates on the appearance, but Bertrand concentrates on her personality. Well done. Number 7. From the very beginning, Rossendel was against Michael's ambition. Show how. Of course. Rossendel sympathized with Michael, but in fact he said that it was not his right to be the king. What do you think? Because Michael was younger than Rodolphe Elfberg. Rodolphe Elfberg was elder than him. And the second thing is that Michael's mother was not royal, in fact, so he couldn't be the king unless he married Flavia, as you know, because his mother was not royal. His mother was not royal. لم تكن أمه ملكية, وبالتالي he didn't have the right to be the king. So, who has the right to be the king? Rodolphe Elfberg, of course, because he is elder than Michael, and at the same time, yes, he is older than Michael, and Michael's mother was not royal. Next, he told the old lady and her daughters that it was the right of the older brother to be the king, not the younger one. Number 8. Whoever we know is better than others. What is the meaning of this sentence? Right. اللي نعرفه أحسن من اللي ما نعرفوش بالبلدي كده. Right. She knew Michael, and she knew that Michael cared about poor people and he gave them hope in the future. So she preferred Michael to be the king instead of Rodolphe Elfberg. How was that clear in the inn owner's comments? You remember this lady, the inn owner? What did she say about that? She liked Michael as he always lived in Ruritania. People knew him and he cared about the people, whereas not many people knew about the king. Not many people know how he looks like, of course. Number 9. The king was gluttonous for food. Gluttonous. Illustrate. Gluttonous. Strange word. What does it mean? right. Gluttonous, نهم، شره، كان لديه نهم، كان لديه شراهة للطعام. وضح ذلك. How do you think Rodolphe Elfberg was gluttonous? Let's see. The king said that good food was more important than sleep, and he ate cakes hungrily as if they were the first thing he had eaten all day. You remember the poisonous cakes that Michael ordered at the end of the meal, and the king ate a lot, in fact, and he became poisoned because of these poisonous cakes. And he knew that good food, or he thought that good food was more important than sleep. Number 10. Michael made use of the king's weaknesses. Discuss. Weaknesses. Right. نقاط الضعف. Michael made use of these weaknesses. What are these weaknesses, do you think? Excellent. He likes hunting and... Right. Good food. Well done. Let's see the answer. He made use of the king's love for hunting and invited him to the hunting lodge to carry out his evil plotting. Although the king should be in Israel, so preparing for the coronation. But in fact, Michael invited him to the hunting lodge. And he also made use of the king's love for food and sent him poisonous cakes, of course. Number 11. There was a big difference in the attitude of both Michael and the king towards each other. Means they have different opinions of each other's. Discuss. Right? What did the king think of Michael? In fact, the king trusted Michael and accepted his invitation to the hunting lodge. He didn't doubt or suspect anything. He didn't doubt the cakes, the poisonous cakes. On the other hand, Michael was evil and planned to use the king's weaknesses. Of course, he was evil. Michael was wicked. And Michael at the same time was a cunning man. كان رجلا ماكرا. Yes, he was evil and they planned to use the king's weaknesses to get rid of him and become king in his state. Next. Sabt was a far-sighted man. Illustrate. Far-sighted. What does it mean, do you think? Well done. Far-sighted, لديه بصيرة, لديه بعد نظر. How? In fact, Sabt had a plan at the beginning of the story. What was that plan? To see the coronation. Do you remember? Let's see. He knew that if the coronation wasn't held that day, Rodolphe V would never be king and Michael would take the crown. Right? He knew that, so he planned that Rodolphe Rassendel would replace the king in the coronation, as we saw. Next, luck played a role in spoiling Michael's plot to be crowned. Discuss. Luck, right? الحظ. Okay. Played a role in spoiling Michael's plot to be crowned. لعب دور الحظ فعلا في إفساد خطة مايكل. Played a role. What was that role? Listen. Rassendel, who exactly looked like the king, you know that Rassendel was exactly like the king, met them in the forest just before the king was poisoned. So, Sabt asked him to go to Strelso to be crowned instead of the king. This is luck. If Rodolphe Rassendel hadn't been there, Michael would have been the king, of course, and his plan would have been successful. Number 14. It's said that Sabt is the brain in the novel. Prove that. Brain, right? معناها كده كان العقل المدبر في الرواية. Mention 2 examples. How do you know that Sabt is the brain in the novel? Think. Okay, let's see. He made a plan to replace the king with Rassendel in the coronation. This is the first one, and it was successful in fact. And when the king is kidnapped, this is the second plan. The second plan, when the king was kidnapped, he made a new plan to make Rassendel replace the king and continue the game they started. Well done, my students. You are brilliant, in fact. Number 15. When did Sabt use body language well? body language, right? لغة الجسد. When? Think deeply about that, please. Think. When did Sabt use body language well? Have you remembered anything? Well done. Right. You remember when he looked in his eyes deeply to persuade him to continue playing the game. Listen. When he was trying to persuade Rasendil to continue to pretend to be the king, walking up to him, Sabt put his hand on his shoulder and then looked deep into his eyes to persuade him. Next, Sabt's value lies in planning, not in action. Discuss. Lies in. Yes, تكمن في قيمة Sabt تكمن في planning, not in action. Discuss. All the time, we see Sabt a planner, not a man of action. Listen. Sabt was a good planner, of course. He made successful plans. In action, he wasn't as successful. In front of the hunting lodge, Sabt didn't kill any of Michael's men. He only escaped safely, and Rasendil managed to kill 2 men. All the time, Sabt is a planner. Until we meet again, with my best wishes, my dear students, we will meet in part number 2 to continue discussing hard questions, higher order thinking questions. ما تنسوش تعملوا لايك للقناة وتشتركوا فيها وتفعلوا الجرس علشان توصلكم كل الإشعارات. شكرا لكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.